It's my pleasure to introduce Professor Abbas Rajabifard, my mentor for last decade. Professor Abbas Rajabifard is an internationally recognized leader and scholar and a proud geospatial engineer and urban land and property management system expert. He is the director of Center for Spatial Data Infrastructures and Land Administration at the University of Melbourne, Australia, Department of Infrastructure Engineering. Professor Rajabifard is a member of United Nations International Advisory Committee for Global Geospatial Knowledge and Innovation Center, or UNGGKYC, and that is the reason we have him here in the US, and we have a pleasure to host him as a guest speaker on the digital twin and digital transformation series. So again, it's a pleasure to have him as my mentor, and we are, really waiting to hear about the innovations and the intelligence in geospatial engineering.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's absolutely pleasure for me to be with you here, and thank you for the invitation. It's absolutely honor to have this time. To Suhail Sabri has been one of the great colleagues that we had in the system with us for just about 10 years. And then one day he said, I'm going to visiting families, and then I started. It's going to one. So that was the one that actually started. Thank you. So yeah, I'm very happy again to have the continuing our collaboration. And in fact, some of the work that we have established in our research center around the planning is just because of the great work that Suhail has actually initiated, and we're trying to just making sure to maintain that. So the reason if the ranking is going up, because we have a very perhaps dedicated track record that we want to make sure that if one is already decided to come back or seeing us, that they can accept that. So anyway, what I'm going to do, and yes, I'm here this week because of next week we have a UN meeting in New York, and as part of the UN advisory for the Knowledge and Innovation Center, and also United Nations Global Geospatial Information Management, and the work that I have been involved from the beginning of this initiative. It's about more than 30 years that I've been working with UN in different capacity. So there's going to be a meeting starting from Sunday. So then after that's the best time to coming and visiting here, and also, of course, establish or advance here a bit of area of collaboration and partnership. So what I'm going to talk today is a number of dimensions that I'm going to touch on. Some of the work that generally how we see and how particularly things from UN perspective, because that's the way that now how the UN is establishing themselves and trying to set up a number of centers of excellence around the world to facilitating and empowering the countries and member states. But also, I'm going to touch on a selected project from our research team back in Melbourne. And these are the current work that we are trying to work on, and hopefully we get through those kind of developments. And in particular, our work and impact to the, from the sustainability perspective, that's one of the areas that focusing mostly on that. So therefore, when we look at the future and how the geospatial is evolving and what are the new dimensions, we're getting into that. So therefore, it is a critical infrastructure. And of course, for several years, we started with this kind of infrastructure and talking about data infrastructure, and then how this data actually can be, why we call it the infrastructure, because infrastructure usually you can touch and feel as a road network, the water network, and so on. So it is the critical infrastructure, and in fact, it is an empowerment of the rest of the infrastructure in countries and also into the economy perspective. Another also element is related to the resilience, dependencies, and then how we can empower jurisdictions, communities, and others to do this and have that type of element. So therefore, what we have from the critical national infrastructure and then how geospatial, in particular location intelligence, can actually empower that type of work. The other side, what I'm hoping that this I can touch during this presentation, going to be related to the unlocking the innovation by integration of multi-source information coming from different sources, as well as also how we can have a dynamic nature into the system. And I think that's really very important that how we can look at this, and also what we are talking about, the moving from the fragmented effort to the coordinated system. This is why this UN started talking about the ecosystem, and also establishment of the new center, which is going to be later this year, to setting up that from the center of excellence for the data system. And again, this is in complementing with the other type of sensors like the knowledge innovation and also foundational of geodesy equipment works. So as well as also, of course, what we do in this domain is not purely a technical exercise. It's a socio-technical, socio-economical type exercise. So we need to look at those kind of areas as well. But of course, at the same time, we can see emerging technologies and series of advancements in different forms. But always we also see that challenges that we are facing are societies. We are seeing that globally around, and then how we are responding into that. And that is perhaps because of our affiliation with UN and World Bank, and that's mostly again the area that we're trying to focus on. So therefore, there are a number of elements. One is the climate, again, the effect of this and then how we are responding to that. We have completed a major work for World Bank late last year on the work related to the guide development for response to the climate action. And that is to respond to the global issues that the countries are facing, and then how the countries are trying to setting themselves up to respond to the climate change. And the way that we look at and see how, based on the countries that what they have decided to do, when we look at those elements, we realize that if the countries what they have promised to do, if they want to do that, well, we need 1.2 billion new hectares of land in order to mitigate the risk related to climate. That means that about 4 times of India land mass to have to new land in order to manage it. So we don't have that land. So we need to rearrange, reassess, and resetting our arrangements for how we use the land. So therefore, that's a part that we start to look at and see how we can be more efficient and effective in the way that we do work on, and also into the digital economy. That's another dimension that geospatial, perhaps the empowerment is come to play with the all domain of the economy as well. So again, doing that, what we focusing on in particular, the work that we do, and also what everybody now, and you went, in fact, next week, the whole event next week is going to be around that open ecosystem. Again, that how different ecosystems can be interacting with each other while still thriving and addressing their own needs on that. But of course, in doing that one, there are, challenges that we need to make sure that how we are going to respond, and also the risk associated or mitigating that type of elements. And into that, also we see on the pin of that fund, and particularly the advancement in technology, like GeoAI or AI in general, and then how that can be incorporated and unlocking elements. In fact, one of the also work that we're going to do with you when starting from week after next, because contract already signed off on that one, is the new look at to the providing some intelligence into the data management of all of those elements that the UN is focusing on, and how we can empower that type of elements and work, and particularly utilizing AI and series of perhaps, the intelligence into the information into the system. So therefore, the opportunities and what we see that geospatial is going to be transformative assets. So this is in addition to other type of areas that they're working on. So therefore, we look at that one, it's not just a the critical as it is going to be a transformative. It is changing the way that behavior of the systems. And in fact, majority of our project and resources that we are now bringing and working on, they are all coming from other disciplines. The way that geospatial, we trying to embed it into the processes of different disciplines, and we're working on that. So therefore, that's the way that we started getting more understanding, and also the way that geospatial information and intelligence can actually be empowered in the world. But at the same time, we need to look at the complementary domains. And I think that's a very important. This is just a snapshot of one of our projects that we're currently working on. And also the number of domains and areas that we just embed into the system. And in fact, particularly in the domain of the community resilience and also from the sustainability perspective. But in general, we look at the series of technicalities as well as also the science and also the behavior. And as I said, this is not a purely technical exercise, social and socio-economical on that, and also the intersection between different sectors and also systems that we work on that. So therefore, from environmental, social, and governance around that. And one of the areas that we look at is also how the system governing between the subsystems and to work on this. So therefore, again, understanding that type of elements, when we look at particularly for the specially enabled communities or specially enabled governance, we'll be working on that. Another also dimension is about scalability of the work. From what we are trying to work on from let's say, one building to the whole precinct, and then from to the city and to the region and going to the global. And that type of intersection. This is, for example, again, one of the areas related to the energy sector and the work related to how the distribution and also particularly in the clean energy, the pathways. This is the one that started again. We look at that type of community interactions between different and also bringing that type of opportunities from from both the technicality side, but as well as also from the return on investments. That's a community dimension. That's a partnership with bringing. And in Australia, particularly with the indigenous, is another dimension that we're trying to look at and how that type of elements, and also particularly into wider community that are managed by them. But having said that, there are a series of barriers as well. So when we look at the placemaking, and also we look at to the locality, and also around that from the sustainability perspective, from the social, physical, and cultural economy into that, and understanding from the building to the street to the suburb city, and going up that type of the scalability and interactions. But the issue is about when you look at the readiness of the information that will be captured. Are they actually ready to be integrated, to be actually used in the system? And then how we can look at that type of element. So I think that how we are going to look at and then removing that type of barriers in order to facilitate integration and seamless integration, and also in dynamic nature into that to enable accessibility and also use of that and the system can work. What we're trying to look at when we look at this one as the complexity of the areas, and what generally we're trying to look at from the left side and going to the right angle of this, and then from that type of, again, depending to the maturity of the system that we're dealing with. So depending to that, and also building this digital twin, and I'm very pleased to be here and talking these elements. And then, of course, they look at that type of integrated approach, accessibility and standardized, and then having a trusted type system that we can work on. And the system can actually bank on that as well. But doing that type of elements, and of course, different techniques that we can use, like the ML or AI and other type of techniques that we can use. So therefore, having to this, one of the trends in geospatial innovation, we look at that integrating of the geospatial, that's what the GeoAI is coming to play. And when we look at the next generation of this type of elements, we need to look at also the solution through the collaboration and leadership. That's a part that, in fact, one of the event that we had recently, which our colleague also was also involved and contributed from here, and we have missed him in person, but was about that partnership in UN conducting the leadership, geospatial leadership training, and also this now becoming as a standing item for UN to facilitating. And in fact, next year is also going to be attached to the UN meeting. Also, there is also the training for that as well for the countries that they look at standing. And I think that can be a part of the opportunity to collaborate and the series of how we can empower nations and providing series of training and which actually coming from different, from technical, from other type of skills and soft skills that the people actually need to have in order to be more ready for responding to the sustainability and implementation of the integrated geospatial information framework that we went trying to adopt in different areas. Yes, you're well onto this with a series of advancement and also adoption and integration of the emerging techniques to work on. And this is actually just recent studies in Australia, and that's interesting that just even in Australia, with a population of about 30 million, I mean, we can see that the impact of the geospatial is going to bring it actually just about 700 billion people. I mean, dollars into that. And that's what we are talking about, that it is the transformative as well as also is going to be very important infrastructure to look at of the how geospatial and then how government is adopting that type of elements. And this is what they study actually already. I've done that. The studies are available actually from different sightings, but look at that, and it's interesting this into the different disciplines and different portfolios. And then you can see that how much and how geospatial is actually creating new returns on that into the whole of the government and the operation and also the budget as well. So therefore, that is the way that now we look at that, how we can invest in. And as actually speaking now, to be preparing a major submission, that can be another also work that we can actually discuss and engage in the work. Seeing also into that is the submission to the Australian Research Council for the training center. What is it? Not the training, it is the research advancement, but creation of the new skills for the market. I think that's what we got one other scheme of the training center was actually again, because last year we were going to participate and we were also going to be part, but we were focused on the energy sector because of the one of the priorities. But then we stopped, we didn't stop in that fund due to the combination of the elements. And then now this year we're going ahead with that as just a geospatial empowerment to the as an enabler. So that's a new scheme that they introduced. So we're trying to look at order to address this kind of environment, in order to return this kind of promises, you need to have enough skill in the market that can actually be applied into that work. So therefore, into this, what we look at from the, the paradigm shift from what we do, and in particular the sustainability, which is again the countries trying to address these elements. We talked about the smart infrastructure. I'm coming from department of infrastructure engineering, which is actually again a combination of different disciplines from civil engineering to the environment and also geomatics. But in general, when we look at the series of solution for, the design as well as also monitoring of infrastructure, and then we look at the also in order to get the product correctly to the land and availability and accessibility to the land for any type of infrastructure, not for example, the tunnel, which requires series of consolidation of the titles of ownership to be able actually to create a new title for building new infrastructure. But we need to look at that type of land and property, which is the core of our business through this, and then having the digital twin as an enabler to provide that, and also building information model with the multi dimensions, not only the physical side of the extent lines, but also look at the ending, depending to the maturity of the system and what are the other dimension, time, values, many other also behavioral can be integrated into that. This is why then we look at one of the challenge that we found also in different countries that we've been working on with, and our center at the bachelor's measure and have a footprint of the collaboration and work project with more than 16 countries in the world. So therefore, one of the challenges integration. I think that's a type and the challenge that many jurisdictions are facing, that how to bring in multi-source information, and also while there is still respecting different portfolios, but at the same time also empowering that to be integrated at different levels, not as a centralized and still can be distributed, but also utilize that type. This is why then majority of the work is focused on the open source platform. That's our the solution or what we are offering to the market. So this is from UN. This is the one that also the group that we have been working on. And this is the work that also we have just done the work in just back in April. What UN have developed, actually, we call it the Integrated Geospatial Information Framework, IGIF. Into this, and the whole event next week is all about how we're going to empower that. What you can see here, innovation, there are 9 modules into this system to be developed. And that is why UN started establishing a number of centers of excellence to different maybe the countries and for the empowering the whole member states. The 9 modules actually into that as a multidisciplinarity, and the innovation piece applying to all of those and to understanding, and that's what the country started actually looking how this IGI framework can be adopted and implemented to be make the teams ready on this. But one of the areas that we need to understand when we talk about the sustainability and also measuring that, because any type of elements when we look at addressing, we look at the capturing information, then we visualizing those, and then based on that visualization, applying series of analytics to understand and identify the patterns into that, and then developing action and then implementing. And of course, after that, again, this process is continuing. But interrelationship mapping and understanding those kind of elements, particularly those areas, this is why many countries, SDGs, we're talking about SDG 2030. We are in 2025. And one of the promise or vision of the SDG has been no one is going to be left behind. That's what we're hoping to achieve on there. We are only 5 years to end of this, but end of this phase. And according to the latest report, more than half of the world are behind. So therefore, that is why there is a need to, and we started that dialogue back in April this year in our center, that in collaboration with UN, started dialogue about the next generation of sustainability agenda. What are the elements, how things need to be done? Because not many people understand that behavior of the indicators and also the relationship between those. So therefore, many people have taken very simplistic view of the world and just realizing that, okay, this is what we want to do, but that's actually impact in some areas is a negative impact on different domains. So therefore, this is just a one mapping of those into our other center, which is the disaster management center back in Melbourne. And therefore, understanding those kind of behavior and relationship, it make it to better understand the trade-off, if there are any, and which were based on the treatment. So you may have seen this, and this is one of the areas that again we had a great also gain the contribution from colleagues who were with us, and the work that we have been continuing with is for the digital twin, and in particular, what I would like to emphasize more or on that fundamental and from the people relevant information, which is the ownership titles and the areas that we have been working on. That type of integration solution into the 3D digital cadastre to empower that type of areas, and the system that we have developed for Victorian government, and also all of the entities and from the integration of the BIM into the system and mapping that one and integrating with series of functions into the system to empower and interact with different authorities, for example, to get to this. Because of different, again, application domains, application areas that, particularly when we look at the three modules of the data model and visualization into the digital twin perspective, and of course, series of the life, not perhaps an overall as the whole process of the digital twin, which is the data itself. And I think if we don't have that data ready, that's the part is not going to make it actually more effective to use. And some domains, some countries, some jurisdictions have started or they have built actually a system, but that's a very static state. I mean, they just converted what they had into the repository and they call it digital twin. Digital twin is going to be digital twin if you have a functions and the system can actually really dynamically actually is working. Therefore, from the series of static type information that need to into the system, plus also adding into that one would be the dynamic nature of the information coming through that and integrated. And then the system, by any interaction with this, you get a better mature system, and the system becomes more and more dynamic in that nature and to work on. So, but of course, at the same time, there are attributes and other areas like the governance need to be pay attention to make sure that the people use the right data and have the right to access to that data to be used as well. I think that's one of the domain area. And the other one is from the privacy and policy issues. That again, what sort of information and to include other type of rules and principles that can be used in that. So I think that's a really the part to be working on. Now let's actually get into a few of our projects and the work that we do on that. This is related to our unit on the planning. And also when we look at the smart city planning and all in particular geospatial planning, that's what we're trying to, and also look at the digital planners and empowered by the geospatial information. We look at the series of areas that need to be addressed and they require the skill, leadership and connections, as well as also to apply to the different functions. This is the work that we started commissioning, the work that is part of our project that we're running. And we look at the domains related to the land intelligence, into the analytics, to the communication and visualization of that one, and then it's continuing to different works on this. Back of the system is the platform, the system and information that we have. But in general, we look at knowledge and innovation in geospatial and how the land intelligence can actually be empowering that type of work. And it is because of the, again, going back to earlier indication of, the scalability of the work and also having smooth interactions from local to global and global to local approach. And that's what the IGI for series of the operative type information and also like the open agenda and others going to play from bottom-up approach, from local to global, and also in series of other type of elements to this. So that is what they develop, and I think that type of system is very important. And this is our new campus in Melbourne, and this is the Fisherman's Bend, the area that we started working on this way back, I think, 2019, actually, we have done the first phase of that, and actually we developed, and based on that work and the completion, then the state government have already committed $42 million to scaling that pilot or the proof of concept. And this was one of the earlier adoption of the design of this software, and we have also gained the soil as the lead of this project and also working, and then expansion of that with the $42 million that the state government is still of that in the entire world. We did very advanced working that, but now is more focused on that application. That what are the things that actually can be done, and in particular, integration with the 3D cadastre and the ownership. I think that's the part that we have seen some of those actually in the other one. But just getting all the beam into this and integrating as a fully system integrated into that. And we are currently focusing on AI in that and being integrated into the digital twin, even going to be more into that interaction to the system with a series of automation into that. And of course, you can find those kind of elements more from our website. And other areas of ecological adaptation, and also again integrated with the digital plan. This work also with us, and also architecture and planning department and the colleague that actually leading on. And one of our units of the center is focused on that ecology and also again environmental behavior. Another work related to our research center related to the transport, geospatial transport. This is the unit that has been actually now focusing on to the series of elements, in particular advancing the digital twin from system monitoring to simulation, prediction, and optimization, and the support. And in fact, the domains that we're trying to bring and leveraging off and advancing and bringing from that type of, because we have developed a platform, the basis, and then we started develop series of modules that were integrated and utilizing the system. And now with this, and particularly the geospatial for the planning and transport as one of the core elements, started actually getting more attention and more project actually to account for. And this is related again to series of work, and we started developing, and very soon we will be announcing a couple of new innovation that we've developed, and we're trying to make that, and as we speak, our team are testing some new modules into this for the total mobility, and also new elements. I mentioned about the sound. The sound is actually one of the areas that now we have been actually working on that with the sound movement of the cars or the city, identifying the number of cars and also different behaviors. It's not only the cameras and others, it's actually other dimensions which also bring a new opportunity to the mix. And also for the crowd modeling and also safety. That's another element that in fact our team have been doing also the series of work with different safety and communities that actually they're working on. So that's a part, and also from the modeling and planning. In particular, what we're trying to look at today, again, how that type of elements can be unlocked opportunity inside the digital twin, from the predictions and identification, and then to forecasting and simulation. That's the part. And this is also one of the areas that our team have been focused on new dimensions into this. And that's what we will be actually very soon announcing two new innovation to that as a new techniques that we have been working over the last 4 years, and hopefully very soon is actually coming to be available on our platform, digital twin. And of course, at the same time, integration platform with the time into this special temporal information that we started advancing into that, and adoption, of course, of AI into this. And for that type of element and also simulation into this and series of again identification and particularly the new, the project that we have just got that from is bringing series of opportunity for, which is also, this is going to be integrated with the geospatial planning scheme. I think that what we were discussing about the planning transport into that from the engineering transport, but that's what the intersection of those two started now evolving very nicely. So we look at this and then we realize that we need to look at also series of new advancement into the work and connections with different type of areas that can work, and we are looking to the integration of series of new elements that the team have been working on. And it was interesting that we recently advertised a few position into the transport and also for PhD at the same time. We were actually looking for 2 adoption in 2017 people, very talented, actually really captured into that call. And then our team came back to me and said that 9 of them are, from out of that 17, the 9 absolutely artists, and how can we do actually with this one? And now we're trying to look at least 3, 4 of those to be adopted, and hopefully we get a bit more on that. And also a couple of new postdocs. In fact, that submission of the ARC center, this training center, you're looking now for the 40 PhDs and also 20 postdocs. So I think that will be hopefully the area that we can look at and work. Another area that we have been working now on is on AI into the land administration and getting a series of new work that our team have been working and trying to integrate a solution for this. Because of everything is about human-kind relation to that. And I think that's all the conflict we see everywhere is about land ownership and access to land availability. And also the land use, and that's again coming back to that type of planning scheme as well. And therefore, into this, when we look at what our center started, that always have been that type of focus on the land administration, from land use, land tenure evaluation and development, and the redevelopment and the series of, but majority of systems, including here and many countries actually are still into the PDF system management and the property information, which is when you providing series of logic application for subdividing land or series of interaction with that. That's the type of areas and the system. What we're trying to look at and also changing to this to identifying that from that type of electronic subdivision and also planning a scheme, but also providing series of elements and in particular with the infrastructure intersection, so large infrastructure in particular, how we can look at that and in particular underground as well. And therefore, we started to bring in, and now we have one project just focusing on that. There are 2 projects, in fact, one is underground, actually focusing on that AI into the underground infrastructure, major for in relation to the land, also aspects and the right restriction responsibilities. At the same time, another one in general, actually being into the land administration as a whole to that. So therefore, generally, the issues of the conflicts as well as also the challenge between that type of ownership rights and others, and into their property and accuracy and every element. So we started to focus on a new system that can work on. So therefore, we're trying to look at reducing the complexity of issues and also providing a series of function that to better actually empower the land system. What you are seeing though as in the yellow part are the areas that we are trying to incorporate into adoption of the AI into the system. And what we have prototyped now, in general, this system is not going to look at the series of facilitation into the processes, And what we are providing you are laboratory agents, actually all we have used Victoria Land System, the government said, what we're trying to is still okay at the time. And also some of the analysis and what I'm presenting here, they're all already practical, actually working with the government and also agencies that are dealing with this. So this is the prototype system we started building to get in the system to identify series of those complexities and identifying that one, and then immediately from that type of elements through the system identification rather than again to the current process that they're doing. We are hoping that this would really change the behavior of many systems and saving as well as also more efficiency. This is one of the work that we currently working on. This is the University of Melbourne AI for mapping interior. The name is a bit somewhat late.
What if we could ask questions about our campus, without having to find data or access specialist software, and without data analysis skills? What if anyone could explore ways to make the campus more sustainable, or to retrofit our buildings with the help of AI and data-driven insights? Umami is the University of Melbourne's AI for mapping and insights. Umami takes plain language queries and connects you to accurate information about the campus. Umami can analyze data about the university's buildings and rooms, its energy use and vegetation, as well as other data. Umami can give you data, tables, graphs, maps, and even generate code for you to use. Umami gives you custom data-driven insights about the campus.
From the campus and reading that and the series of work that we that and so far our center has actually managed to get probably about 70 major buildings and also on campuses across the university.
Umami is a modular multi-agent system that employs several specialized agents to address spatial reasoning tasks using large language models. The process begins with refining user queries and enriching them with spatial metadata, followed by independent solution generation and cross-evaluation by multiple LLMs. A consensus mechanism and dedicated validation agent ensure logical integrity, after which code is generated and iteratively executed with error correction.
Umami is a prototype AI tool. Umami was developed to overcome challenges in improving our campus. These challenges include varying skill levels, accessing and integrating data, and access to specialist software. Umami was also developed to give everyone insights they need, so that we can all work to make the campus more sustainable. This is just the first step. We will further develop Umami by integrating with additional data. We will add live sensor data via API links. Soon Umami will include advanced data analysis and 3D visualization.
So, another also work that we're working on is a major project between the 4 universities that we've been working with and also 18 industries. This is the research hub, which we are now trying to look at the training hub, which is complementing that element. So as we speak, we are in the middle of this research hub. It's a 5 years funding for the work, and we are in the 3rd year of this work. And there are 5 themes into our research to look at the areas from infrastructure, particularly from the mitigation of the risk and management of that. And in particular, Melbourne University part, there are particularly 5 projects we're working on, and these are our partners with us in this particular project. So these are the 5 projects, and I'm going to just snapshot of the selected of those, not all of the 5. But I just thought that actually again bringing that type of innovation and geospatial and how we look at building series of solutions. I think I mentioned earlier all those sensors in particular into the integrated again from the system perspective for flood monitoring. And we have, in fact, a company from US, a company from Italy, and also one from Australia, from the sensors, actually, that they are also providing us this. And just last week, our team started deploying the sensors to fish and inspect the area that we have, and also in Queensland, to actually just do keeping the data or monitoring the system. So that one of the project is generative AI into the major oil and gas work that we do. And this is actually, in fact, the work utilizing one image, just scanning, and one of our talented PhD students is working on this and building on that type of element to identifying all of the assets within the plant. And I think that's what, by scanning this and then generating new techniques with that type of one image technique, because already many groups have been working on that type of digital twin for their major plants, but utilizing one image and also with a quick solution, that's a part that our team is working on. Let's have a look at it. This is actually, in fact, one of our partners in this project. The name in this company that is working with us in this one. That's a work that is already. Particularly from the asset, that's actually very key by and how the way that we use how our institution is we share that one, then we can have a look to that one, because there was other dimension into that software that actually is system development. This is another work also between both of our, again, to that research hub project, which Suhail is also involved as a co-supervisor in this particular research for our, again, and other talented students working, but it is actually the fact about the underground assets and also the utilities. And it's interesting, again, the new techniques and the scanning of the ground and areas that can be saved. And this is the work that now we're working in particular with the graph theory and graph model, and also advancing the work that the team has been working on. Okay, this is about the bridge health monitoring, and this is the demonstrator that we started working on that with a number of industries and the sensors company to providing. And I've indicated that in Australia we have over 22,000 bridges, and we now have the location integrated into our digital twin. So now in our system, now we have that one, and we are partnering with the asset owner and the federal government to work with them, and now identifying and working on the bridges and deploying series of sensors that can, and in fact, before deploying those, the sensors started actually getting tested through our center and building that type of getting confidence before deploying actually being done on that into the bridges. And some of them from the health manager, particularly the bridges that been painted, for the steel bridges, and then inside that, if there are series of issues actually facing, that's a part that those sensors now started communicating with the center, and that's what we very soon again some analysis is coming up. one issue in the structural health monitoring, all actually, because it's a very big field and many people working on that, but they usually focus on one individual infrastructure and they're dealing with that type of, the management. But what we try to look at this is the comparative opportunities analysis that the system can provide and work. And we now have done this is the bridge in Victoria, but there is also one major, just a couple of weeks back, our team have actually deployed in New South Wales. And that's one that now going to be integrated as a new solution. So having said that, I'll just quickly touch on the University of Melbourne and also a bit about our research center. So university is just over 160 years in operation. It's the second oldest university in Australia by a few weeks. So that's there were two universities at the same time coming out. But we are now ranked number 13, and in fact, this was the QS, but this is also recently also arrived again just about a week ago. That actually the same type of ranking we have. And again, the ranking is it's all about what we do and how our work is impacting the society. I think that the world is not much we don't let this. Infrastructure engineering, I mentioned about the three disciplines that we have into this, and also series of portfolios that we are conducting to that. I'm from geomatics engineering, but of course in the integration and collaboration. If you look at to the geomatics team, and what we do in our disciplines is all about sensing, mapping, modeling, and analysis, and running that. And into the geomatics, of course, similar to many other geospatial entities and universities, we look at again how different type of mapping and also solution analyzing work. And our center is in fact one of the core business of that. So therefore, within our geomatics team, we are doing three major activities. And from that measuring the science and modeling perspective, specialty for land administration, and our center, which is the main focus of this, and our other type of the science work. And this is just a snapshot of some of their core capabilities or combined skills that as a team we providing to our students, at the same time also to the market. Yeah. We have one new generation of master degree. It's about the Master of Digital Infrastructure Engineering, ran by geomatics, in look at the different type of applications, the transport, to the civil, to the land, to many other domains as well. Coming to our center, the center established back in 2001. And I had the pleasure of finishing my PhD at that time, and then done a fine job on the market and establishing a center to work on that. So therefore, since then we have been working in the center, but the center is one of the core, and I'm very pleased to see it.
Yes, I can see the other one as well. Thanks for it.
No, I wanted to make sure that actually our colleagues here they understand that how much you have been actually helping those interests. So yes. Anyway, the system we've been working with different, of course, group, and also, as I've said, the center have been working with countries and activities we have conducted. There are four things we do, mainly related to the training we provide. These are the the formal training as well as also intensive type training we draw. We are one of the partner with World Bank and also many now agencies to providing custom-made training to provide series of relevance again to the domain. Also, of course, research and engagement and application domain and operation. Many of our projects are the real case project. We are working for the governments, industries. We're getting that. We are not competing with companies. We are actually creating that for us is a best environment to innovate, to work on that while we're doing the real work on this. In fact, We've been actually also encouraged and very soon we'll be announcing the spin-off of this, which is maybe in a couple of weeks' time. It's already done, and it's actually now a series of new work that actually now affiliated with this company, this brand activities. But the core of our center is around land and geospatial. So that's what we're trying to maintain our business and not really going beyond that and making sure that whatever we do, in fact, in any of the areas that we work on, transport and others, they're all coming back from geospatial perspective. But of course, again, the different areas of the operation that we have. This is just to providing you a picture that what we have and the research units or the theme that we have been working on, that type of areas. And again, they're all integrated solution. We try to look at, and the team are as an agile team and also providing and supporting every angle of the operation of the work. We have a digital twin lab, which again providing series of options and from capturing to visualization and to analytics, and also series of work. And I think that's a team that what we have been working on, and these are the campuses actually from our work, and recently again the work that we have been doing to fully scanning the whole campus into this as a system perspective. And also again series of operation and application domain that have been actually being deployed into our system. And of course, again, there's some of the practical example of work racks and others that areas that we'll report. So let me stop here. I think that's my last one. It's just what we do next and what we are working on into that type of Geo AI and assurance, and that's what we trying to look at areas, and of course any type of area that actually again can cover into the some of the what from our eyes actually what we see in the market. So I should stop here, and thank you very much for the opportunity to working and being also again here and have the opportunity to talk with you. Thank you.
As usual, with the presentation. So I open up for questions if there's any question or clarification.
Well, so I can also share the link of our center and also share areas. And
so I have a question regarding to the training also, because I'm aware of this research hub, which is 5 years government investment. One side is industry. I mean,
the matching funds.
Matching fund. So by industry means that industry should cash into that so that the government will put the matching fund of that. And is the training going to be
The same.
same and then Australia only, or it's going to
No,
be
overseas.
So other university, which other university?
We have from Germany, we have from France actually to this, and that's what we wanted also to see. And there is another also university in the US that actually one of the colleagues wanted to bring. I asked them to wait until I have a meeting this year before we confirm actually with the power. Because it is the training center, and what the government's actually appreciating the partnership international, but there should be very selective. That's why we cannot open out to many groups actually to come out of it. Because of the budget that the government is putting $5 million into that, and also we bringing, and again, if you're joining us on that, whatever you bring as an industry, it will remain what you need. So anyone that you're joining and bringing here or the resources will be kept here, what will also get matching that type of funding for partnership and collaboration. And also again, the application or the scholarship or other things can be. In fact, that would be a good opportunity for, having a joint funded or from that type of, funding from that is to be doing together currently we have a number of joint initiatives like this, I mean, with Belgium, for example, Germany, Rajabifard, and with also Bonn University as well. I was in Bonn recently again as part of that type of scheme as well. So therefore, it is a good opportunity again, whatever again you get, we will keep it here, and also the other matching fund will be available to facilitate and also bring in those new opportunities for the PhDs and others, or the postdoc. The number of domains that is the market driven, particularly multidisciplinarity, what we're trying to look at, the water is also into this, energy into this one, and a number of other sustainability efforts as well. But the core is geospatial intelligence as an enabler. So that's a new scheme that we're trying to apply to. So,
There's a question from.
So here we have a question from one of the viewers online. What are the biggest pushbacks from municipalities to adopt this technology?
municipalities, it's interesting. Because municipality is one of those entities that are main interactor with the societies. I think that's a very good word. And one of the perhaps, there are a few, perhaps, I mean, I can see there are a couple of perhaps, I mean, the major challenge they might be facing. One is the way that they fund. I mean, they have the annual basis of the budget, and they, when they participate in any type of work collaboratively, I mean, they may be actually bring a bit of a challenge into the how they're going to work. But recently they started changing that as well, as they have realized that series of new opportunity of the innovation can change the whole behavior of the processes that they have. The other part is from the accessibility to the, or access to the information. That's one of the challenge of the area of managing. But we, as we go further, we see more ease into this. So we're hoping that the municipality, in fact, one of our major projects in Saudi Arabia currently is also interacting with a number of councils there. And they started realizing better than, I mean, after how that planning is still good impacting their operation. And they started also realize, was a requesting that how they change the whole system they have. And we are hoping that very soon we have a better solution to interact. Another one is in the city of Melbourne, which also, again, part of our planning team have been working on that planning project that they have for the Green Line, 4 kilometers of the around Melbourne that they have, and that's a part that they started also better appreciation of the value of the system into that operation. And with the recent advancement into that project, they started actually adopting a series of new, perhaps, I mean, the functions into their operation. So the barriers actually have been around the funding scheme plus also accessibility to the data, but this gradually is now changing because of the new innovative innovation and the way that actually impacting the whole process. And another also I should mention is related to, they would actually get better return if they have access to a seamless type platform between the council and the land registry office, because whatever they do, they're also interacting with the ownership and the land and the title and everything. But currently, everywhere actually using 2 different systems, and they try to actually communicate that type of data between the 2 systems. If they can actually have a seamless and also a shared type platform, would actually be better facilitating and assuring that type of.
So again, please join me in thanking Professor Rajabifard.
I will take maybe now the opportunity. As I said, Sohail was not with us. Just let me know.
This is vice versa. Silah, we actually give him something. I'm sure he has.
No, because as I said, Sohail was part of our event in Melbourne with UN, but he delivered the talk online. But we were not actually having opportunity to presenting to him his trophy of the appreciation. So I thought that I should just bring him over here to give him that. So you don't mind, because we're sending another paper for you with that. So Let me turn on.
So just stand in front of the sign.
Yeah, this is again, the joint event that the first time actually was about that innovation approach we're doing. And that's what we had also opportunity to was.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. So. No, my mission is complete, but everybody. Because it wasn't with us and I thought I should go.
Thank you so much. So we have a number of tours. You are very welcome to join us. We arranged the tour to Metal lab. And then after that, we go